This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
Forest of Ire, said Kara, linking arms with Aaron and watching the two predators scrapping with each other like two playful puppies. The paladin closed his eyes and allowed the sun to bathe his face, the rays gradually warming his whole body. I can hardly wait to return here some day when the rest of the forest will be as revitalized as its heart. Thankfully, the Wrath Elves are now under the protection of the Alphanol and can build their new existence around its source. A pleasant thought, said a silky, melancholic voice from behind. Aaron's smile diminished ever so slightly as Lanlian stepped beside him, close enough for the young man to sense the bodily coldness coming from the accursed paladin. This forest possesses an extraordinary inner power, which is only now reawakening fully, he added, in his somewhat old-fashioned manner, clearly a result of the centuries of hunger-sleep that he had experienced as a bloodless. Perhaps, in the eyes of the gods, I have paid for the sins I committed after the war, and they are presenting me with a peaceful homeland. Aaron frowned and turned to face the bloodless. My offer still stands, he reminded the tall paladin dressed in dark armor, whose long jet-black hair was tied back at the nape of his neck, the voluminous hood of his equally black cloak pulled over his head to protect his sallow skin from the sun. You are welcome to remain by the Alphanol until we have found the remaining 3 paladins. Lanlian shook his head slowly, the shadow of his hood hiding his face. I shall remain by your side, he murmured, nodding towards the stallion, Haminul, who had become a black bodak thanks to the Forest of Ire's influence, and who was now energetically scuffing the ground with his hoofs in the sunshine. I have enough of the blessed water in Haminul's saddlebags to still my inner hunger for many moons to come. And anyway, the bloodless paused momentarily, your presence is a reminder to me of what it means to be a genuine paladin. I shall accompany you. Aaron was speechless and moved by the praise coming from the accursed paladin. The only response he could give was to nod and face the sun again. So many eyes were looking to the young man. So many hopes were pinned on him. He thanked the gods for blessing him with such a loyal group of friends who willingly helped him as he shouldered the heavy weight of war against the dark god, a war that was costing more and more lives with every day that passed. As if on command, the remaining companions in their travel party began appearing from the undergrowth. The next time, please keep your farewell words brief, grumbled Falk as he roughly brushed off any brambles that were hanging off his heavy armor. Then he swung himself into Salsina's saddle as soon as the Titi Junanwa had stepped out of the forest. Much better, grunted Aaron's erstwhile teacher, who had clearly missed riding his beloved elven charger. He looked every inch the mythical hero, with his short grey hair and trimmed beard as he sat in his white plate armor atop Salsina, who was similarly clad. And indeed, he and the other paladins who were centuries old were living legends in the eyes of the Gerathians. I wanted to make sure that the Wrath Elves would coordinate their defense at the front with the other armies, countered Aldini irately, responding to Falk's reprimand as he floated out from between the trees. It would be so much simpler if they had a proper commander like any other sensible folk in the world. In the past, at least, they had— His voice trailed off when he saw Aaron glaring at him. Tartak, said Aaron, finishing the childlike arch-wizard's sentence, with touch of bitterness in his voice. The loss of the Wrath-Elf emissary was a wound that he would carry with him for some time to come yet. They had almost instinctively sacrificed the life of the passionate elf so that they could save Celcina's, both having simultaneously come under the Forest of Ire.